The casual observer, he is dismissed and quiet. He exerts energy to divert attention. He knows why he has to and rationalizes it in various ways. He must do this to have any value whatsoever to anyone. The difference seems obvious from the observer's eyes, but where other supposed outsiders lament their position on the periphery and plot narcissistic ways to rocket themselves into the limelight, he is indifferent to his position, just as he is indifferent to the world that surrounds him. He has nothing but love and empathy for the insiders and does his best to help them. He understands that he could never be content, but he receives satisfaction from spending his effort to help those who can feel such things. His solitude does not make him angry or resentful. Those are emotions felt by those who wish to be accepted and showered with love and attention, but are not. He accepts his duty and his task and has made his peace with it in various ways. He does his best to be a symbol of benevolence, which stands as an unwavering fuck you to humanity for their self-focused disagreements. The others live for their differences, for their wars. They live for the elation that comes from taking advantage of others' weaknesses. To watch this insecurity, even in a state of detachment, is not easy. It seems like senseless pain, senseless suffering. The fools cry out, the world is a random, absurd joke. This is perhaps the most painful thing to watch. To watch the disillusionment cause a digression into the destruction of moral standards. No order, no justice, and worst of all, nothing of a higher order than lowly mankind. He watches in horror as a kind, honorable attention is focused on a feature film of condensed desperation and suffering. He rarely finds the enthusiasm to speak a full sentence. It's usually just an act of defiance that makes sense to no one but him. His very existence defies the beliefs of most. They had his knowledge. To the nihilists and atheists, simply a fuck you to the bullshit they've endured their entire lives more than an actual position. Steadfast declaration that they know in their heart what is wrong, but they haven't the time, passion, or perhaps belief they will ever really find what they want. Everyone is tired of being lied to, of being sold to. The outsider understands their position completely and wishes he could show them the door, but he knows he cannot. He can offer anything to those who are satisfied with their conclusions. The hopeless masses rant and rave and sell the notion that God cares, not because they want you to believe it, but because it feeds their arrogance. How could anyone take a good assessment of humanity and believe anyone gives the slightest fuck about any of it? How could anyone that has taken a good assessment of the world believe in order? Well, the outsider does. He observes in silence and does his best to help where he can, wishing he didn't have to watch any of it, wishing that it would all become silent, understanding instead of raving fear. His solace is knowing that one day he won't be much different. His knowing, his assuredness amongst all the madness to the ignorant. This looks like perhaps he doesn't get it, but what most don't grasp is that to be in alignment is to swallow the lie. Those who cannot imagine anything that hasn't been imagined for them. He imagines what it should be, not what you're told him it can be. Thank you.
We've already done. Bob Dylan's house is going to visit here. I just want to show you events involving actually Bob. I have a series of basic bitch paper dolls. Oh. And there's probably one, and Ryan's really good at replicating. And there's Illusion of Hotness. And I made her like naturally pretty friend that she takes out thinking that she's a grenade, right? So anyway, and well, the chick moves out from downstairs, who's all hating on me. I mean, she's missing her calling and horror writer. I mean, like, I'm acting like Laura's trying to dock me, right? A guy moved in their place, and they speak to me now, so I'm just gonna say it's like quick. This I just sent to house to visit. I think his hot bitch was very dumb, complained to Bruce ad nauseum. He says between 10 and 10, nothing can be done. Then one day he said, come on, move Alexa and put a big ass out on Highway 61. that's what happened. Then she realized we were over it. She put her basement home and now we jams at school. Anyway, so here's my point. And now just you know. It totally fits, you know, like, okay, I'm like, thank you. I work with Ramber, that they was a sick of hymns for us, and like, they're starting the wooling hour at 10 p.m. Jesus fucking. Okay. This is called standing witness. I bear witness to the ugliness of the world, and every human being loathsome of a fellow man for fleeing baseless judgments, so much ill will and violence, ruining the lives of others, just for a couple of dollars on the back from your so-called brothers. It circle the block endlessly and wait for returns, not because I'm weird, a term retired to me when I was 9 or 10. Maybe I'll spin the heckling and stalking me and getting a string or against them. And just because he's annoyed about Susan Warburg as a gruff-voiced landlord sees his opportunity to berate me, the next time a shade creep U-turns in my direction, I'll go so medieval and motherfucker, he'll have no chance for an open coffin. And the sadness you feel when a gorgeous, brilliant, sweet girl's bright future was wasted for a $3 part, and those who never help another soul continue about the earth at their leisure, and still our attention we squander on political distractions which you can't change. Thank you. And now, I'm still going for any me, babe. I mean, okay, jury's out in my book. Okay, like Bob Dylan had recovered. Okay, I have to stop with me and Bob McGee, and so I might point down, but might have written that. Okay, I think it's symbolic by Travis Bickle for the Silver Shepherd, this Christofferson album, because, you know, Brian asked me, who's Christofferson? Like, well, he wrote me Bob McGee. And, you know, Travis Bickle felt like a nobody, and Christofferson kind of was. Anyway, so here, thank you, babe. First heard by Dylan, at least. Go away on my window, leave at your home to be. I'm not the one you want me, I'm not the one you need. You say you're looking for the line, but we're always wrong. To protect you and defend you, whether you are right or wrong. Someone open each and every door, ain't me, babe. No, ain't me, babe. Ain't me you're looking for, babe. Go lightly from the ledge, babe. Go gently through the ground. I'm not the one you want, babe. I'll only let you down. Say you're looking for someone who will promise never to part. Someone to close her eyes for you. Someone to close her heart. Someone who will die for you and more. Ain't me, babe. No, ain't me, babe. Ain't me you're looking for, babe. Melt back in the night, babe. Everything inside me so. There's nothing in here moving anyway. I'm not alone. Say you're looking for the one to pick you up each time you fall. Together out constantly, and the calmest time you call. Hey, lover, you're like nothing more. Ain't me, babe. No, ain't me, babe. Ain't me you're looking for, babe. Thank you.
poem was born on the corner of Oak Street and Carlton Avenue. Someone was crossing the street in front of a car, and he didn't pay any attention to the car because as he turned around to me to explain, he said, "I'm a Mississippi man." And that was supposed to explain that he's from Mississippi. I am a Mississippi man, he said. I cross streets when I come to them, whether a car is speeding toward me or the coast is clear. Cars have brakes. They have drivers that don't want dented bumpers or blood on their windshields or higher insurance rates or guilt-ridden memories. They will find a way to stop, or swerve, or skid, or not. You can only die once, and there's a limit to pain. I know that. I'm a Mississippi man. I was conceived through rape. I was born with the cord wrapped tightly around my neck. Someone said that was a warning of things that could come to pass if I didn't watch my step. But I was too busy to watch my step. Too busy leaping and cavorting and climbing trees. Too busy jumping buck naked into fast-flowing streams. Too busy letting the flavor of yams and watermelon drip down my chin. Too busy noticing the shape of women of every color and shade to be careful. I'm a Mississippi man. I love the sound of singing and poetry and blues more than the sound of teachers droning on telling me what to do and when. I love the music of mockingbirds and the soaring of eagles and buzzards and the silence of cats on the prowl and the sight of children doing cartwheels, one right after the other. I love the wobbling steps of babies and the grace of gymnasts. I could slice through a crowd of packers on the football field for the sheer joy of running and feeling my own hips swiveling and my body drooping and the earth beneath my feet. I could dance and I could love for an hour or a week, for a year or two, wherever. I'm a Mississippi man. Don't tell me what is permissible and what is not. Don't tell me who is off limits and who is not. Don't threaten me. My grandfather dangled from a tree for having eyes that wandered. That's what they told me from the time I was small. They made me jump through hoops and step and shuffle and pow-pow and scrape and bow. They beat me in the schoolyard. They beat me in the bushes. I watched myself bleed and I watched myself heal and grow strong like a gnarled oak. I sent my roots deep and my branches spread and open to the sun with so much green you couldn't paint it all on one canvas. I am a Mississippi man. I see where I am going. I head for it straight. I walk through cow dung in my path, up the front steps and across the white carpets and right out the back door. I don't step aside. And if there's a street I have to cross to get anywhere, I'm going to cross it. And any car that's headed my way better stop or slow down or move around and get his windshield splattered. It don't matter to me one way or the other. We all get splattered somewhere down the line, like my mama when I was young. And I keep charging straight ahead, singing some full song of ever steady and strong. I am in Mississippi. Brother Jonathan Livingston was a teacher of Swiss folk dancing. So this is dedicated to him. Variations on the theme by Brother Benson. Remember, before the first note sounds, before the ritual unfolds again, you are not just any person struggling to open. You are Eve, crying out with sheer delight at the first dusk, at the first dawning, celebrating hips and thighs and toes, celebrating fingertips, you draw the very heavens into your womb, and in pain and laughter you give birth to life itself. You are every woman that has ever loved, every woman that has bared her bosom to the rain, every woman that has ached as the cord is cut, that has held her child up to the sun, and sung lullabies to the growing darkness. Every woman that has shared her sisterhood with the moon and measured the flow of her own blood against the tides. You are not just any person struggling to open to the spring. You are Eve dancing in the garden. Flowers open to greet you as you pass. Trees thrust upward to the clouds. Your arms retrace the whirl of galaxies at the dawn and dusk of time, and your eyes flash on. Expected. For mosquitoes at dawn, a poet is just another source of
Need it back on for me. Birthday crawfish. Evan's birthday is March 20-something, crawfish season. He's always had a crawfish boil for his birthday, but this year he and his wife Jan didn't want to fool with it. So instead of sitting in their back patio facing their football field-sized backyard in River Ridge, we met at the seafood joint on Jeff Highway, half a mile from their house. Miriam and I were late because after Mass she wanted to drive by the $1 million house some girl she taught just bought. Why? Its picture was in the real estate section of the Advocate, just a very nice uptown house on Eleanor Street. It's like Miriam and her buddy Charlotte are documenting the lifestyles of the rich and social of uptown New Orleans, so they can say, I drove by Minzy Dufour's new $1 million house on Eleanor. She's 26. You know her parents bought it. Must be nice. I'm thinking, of course it's nice. Some people have money. You just figured that out? Who cares? I can see the heartbreaking blue sky and cumulus clouds and sunrise and sunset and luminous new leaves on trees and cardinals and blue jays and children playing in the ever-changing mighty Mississippi. I don't need to go home to $1 million house that could sleep 30, but just me and my old lady live there. Woohoo! And emerge from this year's biggest Lexus and strive into obviously the abode of a very important person and enter my beautifully appointed living room, kept perfect by my Guatemalan maid, and plop my pampered registered socialite ass on a chair that would match Versailles, I mean the palace, not the boulevard, and shout, damn, but ain't this the life? If we'd only gone to Mass, we would have been on time. Miriam always goes. I started going the year the Saints won the Super Bowl. I said if they get the NFC championship, I'll go. Then I had to go so they'd win that. Then again to win it all. Then because Miriam's disappointed if I don't. Plus, it's for good luck in general and for something spiritual. Something spiritual. Is that an oxymoron? And Christ's teachings are dope. So not all the dogma and rules made up by theologians. Experts on God. What a joke. And I'll pass on another priest explaining the parable of the prodigal son. I was an English major, for God's sake. Plus, my dad liked that one because the father in it represents God. And you can guess who he'd nominate in the role of the screw-up son. So we head through the park on Magazine Street, the old Toyotas shaking like we're on a corduroy road. Then past Lambeth House with windows that look like crosses in a cemetery, as if the old coots haven't figured out what's next. Then River Road, which also makes us late because instead of cutting over to Jeff Highway, I take the scenic route along the park-like levee and through Harahan's 20-mile-an-hour speed trap. I taught one of their cops, if he tickets me, I'll go to the media with that ludicrous Emily Dickinson essay he wrote. At Colonial, cut to Jeff, 40 miles an hour. The joint's parking lot parks about 4 cars, park on street. Usual Evans birthday crowd. He's 60 pounds over our competition days. Without 80 plus miles a week, genetics took over. Evans' wife, natural born first grade teacher, OCD, controlling, worked with 25 6-year-olds for 40 years, probably insane. Her parents looking good for mid-80s. Evan's fellow social worker friend Peter. When young, he was in the seminary, transitioned by marrying an ex-nun, now on third wife, making up for lost time. She's cute. In our late 20 minutes, they've already demolished hundreds of crawfish. Part of the reason for the restaurant setting is so non-crawfish lovers, Miriam and I, can order sandwiches instead of subsisting on boiled potatoes. Good pulled pork sandwiches. Andy gave Abita good too, but not very cold. I hand Evan my homemade birthday card showing a cake with about 100 candles and saying, "Happy birthday, Evan." With a match, I had burned holes in it and written, "Sorry, I put the card too near your cake." Evan doesn't laugh, but Peter's hot wife, number 3, does. Maybe I can hook up with her when Peter moves on to number 4. Evan's daughter sits across from me. College of Santa Fe costume major, now sewing outfits for Mardi Gras cruise. Takes all year. Miriam asks Evan his age. 69, he says, and mumbles something no doubt related to sex. On the topic of numbers, I say, when I was in my 40s, I used to say, if I can't break 18 for 5K, pull the plug. And I stand by that, but I insist I meant 18 hours. Evan and I are the only ones amused. His wife, who's now a travel agent, pipes in, on Evan's next birthday will be in Egypt. I say, is that because he'll be the same age as the pyramids? I must be drunk. Then add, I always thought Evan would look good as a mummy. He gives me a jaundiced glance. Our long-gone 10-year racing rivalry was intense, and he suspects that I wanted him dead, which is not true, although his collapsing, needing an IV, and developing a lifelong terror of me would have been okay. Evan's daughter serves chocolate cupcakes she baked. They are delicious and the only cupcakes I've ever enjoyed in my life. Turns out there's some kind of booze in them. Suddenly I say, what the hell is that telephone booth doing there? Inside the restaurant, right in front of me, 7 feet away, is a phone booth like I haven't seen in years. Peter walks over, picks up the receiver, and says, I got a dial tone. Miriam says, and why is there that aquarium on the counter with no fish in it? I say, well, they serve seafood. But I'm thinking about how the day before at Langenstein's I noticed the lobsters in the tank next to the meat counter and thought, they know what's about to go down. But I say, is this a surrealistic seafood joint? Was that Salvador Dali who took my order? Evan says no, because my watch isn't melting. Then everybody got up and said how great it was to see each other and left. I took the same route home, but with my poor night vision and the oncoming lights and the Japanese plum juice on my windshield from my neighbor's tree, I couldn't see too well.
I got it. This one is. Let me just load it. There it is. If anyone is familiar with Westmeadville and the seafood in Westmeadville, this is what I encountered there before on Good Friday. Catfish freedom, catfish cooking. On empty Lenten stomachs, we enter the bustling seafood market in Westmeadville, drag our feet over the gravel and thrown into the middle of a scene. If workers, the familiar scent of fish, the Good Friday cloud. A policewoman yells, directs traffic on the street as we stop before a booth to say the catfish on ice. How much? Over the crowd. $8 a pound. We think it over. A live crawfish attempts to pinch his way out of the barrel. A child dares to touch the defensive claw as they throw fillets on a scale. And at home, 90s music blares from the radio as onions sizzle and tomatoes melt. We laugh about the boy pinched by a crawfish as the fish in the pot turns white. And when everything is ready to spoon over rice, I answer the door as you set the table. Thank you.